Hello YouTube! Today in the Naughty Librarian, I am doing my end of June wrap up. So I read like a lot of books in June. Like I think it was one of my bigger reading months of the year. I was just like a little reading machine. Also went rogue from my TBR, but that's okay. But as usual, I pretty much just read fantasy and romance because that's kind of my thing at this point. But anyway, let's just get into like what I read in the end of June and what I thought of them. I'm gonna start things off with just like a brief thing about The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This was my latest episode of Drunk Classics, and this was a ride. Like I don't want to go into it because I have a whole video. I'll link it up there, just describing what happened in here completely whilst drunk. But it's a lot gayer than I thought it was gonna be. And also, like, the story was way different. I don't know where in the cultural zeitgeist that the whole idea that Dorian can't see his portrait or it'll, like, reverse, the magical reverse. I don't know where that came from. But that's, like, what I thought I knew about the book. And, like, he looks at that painting all the time. So it's just not the case. I don't know how that's so twisted in the world. But anyway, I have a whole video of me getting very drunk and reading this, so I'll link that and you can check it out. But while we're here, I also just want to talk about my next episode of Drunk Classics, which is going to be Emma by Jane Austen. I have already read about half of it at this point, and I'm thinking I'm going to premiere this on July 17th. Originally, I was going to do the 24th, but I'm actually busy that day. I'm taking my WSET certification, so I just won't be busy to like enjoy the premiere with everybody. By the way, WSET certification, it's like a wine certification course, so it's like step 1 of becoming a sommelier. So, hey, look at me, bettering myself with education. So, if you want to come chat with me and each other while the video is premiering, it's going to be fun. I'll put more details like on Instagram and on here, but a lot of people have requested I give more notification about these videos. So here we are, and I'm going to be doing a premiere actually, so tune in, it's going to be a good time. Next category is historical romance, and I read 3 of them. I read The Hellions Waltz by Olivia Waite. This is a pre-order that came in, and I really like The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. And this is kind of another book in that series. I don't think these characters are related, but this is like another book of that series. And yeah, I was a little disappointed in this one. I ended up giving like 3 stars because it was fine. You know what I mean? Like I don't have any like major issues with it. It just wasn't as fun as I was hoping it would be. So this is Sophie and Maddie. And Sophie is a piano teacher. Like her family makes piano. She teaches piano. She loves writing music. That's her deal. And her family got swindled like by this guy. And then they had to move away. And it's like this whole thing. And she meets Maddie, who's like the hottest girl she has ever seen in her life. She's like, oh my gosh, Maddie is dope. And then she like follows Maddie a little bit, which is creepy, but whatever. And she kind of figures out like Maddie is running a con on someone. She's like, oh no. But it's more of like a revenge con. It's not like, oh, I'm swindling this innocent person. Like she's like conning an asshole. So like, So it's kind of like a big stick it to the man, like crime story a little bit with also piano music and an FF romance. And I wanted to like this a lot more than I did. It's just I never really got into either character. Maybe it's just a little short. It is quite short. Like how short is this? Yeah, this is only 258 pages, and like really you needed another 50. Like it just needed more time to get to know these characters and their relationship with each other, because as it is, it just feels like threadbare. But like there's nothing particularly wrong with the story or the writing. It's just meh, you know? It could have been better, but right now it's just kind of meh, so 3 stars. I went back to Julia Quinn one more time with A Night Like This, and this is part of her Smythe Smith Quartet series. I read the first book of this series a couple years ago. It's called Just Like Heaven, and I hated it. I thought it was bad. I really, really disliked it a lot. And then, so that's kind of like was the kicker that really put me off Julia Quinn. And then Bridgerton came along, and this is like a spin-off of Bridgerton, so I was like, okay, whatever. I don't need to get into my whole history here, but I just decided to give it another shot. And you know what? I'm kind of liking Julia Quinn. Is she like super exciting and smutty and like full of action? Kind of no. It's much more banter and like Austen like vibes, but like I'm into it right now. So this one is about Daniel Smythe Smith. He is the infamous brother who has had to flee the country because of a duel gone wrong, and he's finally back, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna go visit my family, and he goes to the music hall. So this Smythe Smith family, they always have this music hall, but the thing is, they're all horrible musicians. It's like the worst music hall, so that's like the joke. And he gets there, and he sees this woman playing piano, and he's just like, she's not a family member, and it's this woman named Anne, and she's like the governess to his cousins, and he's like, Anne's super hot, and they're like, I don't really like how they first meet, because she kind of just like sees him and gets scared, and then like he ends up kissing her like right away, and I'm like, you don't know her name. What? It's not like a great opener to the relationship, but overall, like, Daniel is quite, you know, dashing and kind of like a bit full court press to the point where you're like, Daniel, you need to back off. But like, am I happy they get together in the end? Kind of, yeah. Like, I liked it. Anne basically has like a very kind of dark, shadowy past. She's going by Anne Winter right now. It's not her real name because she had to flee for different reasons. They both had to flee for reasons in their past, and she's running away from this guy who's just like out to murder her, and she's like, oh no. And of course, you know, this guy's gonna catch up to her, and there's like murder and like kidnappings and all kinds of shit. And also, you know, like quirky like sisters who can't play music. So it has like a lot of fun banter. It has a lot of like rom-com tropes that I enjoy. Is it like fantastic? I don't think so. Like, I don't know. There are issues here. There's like issues with a lot of Julia Quinn books with like their relationships between like the main couple. But like, am I gonna let it ruin my day? No. So I don't know, I gave it like 4 stars. I had fun with this. Is it like the best thing? No, but I had fun with it. And then I just continued right on with that Julia Quinn kick. So I went into the next book of the Smythe Smith Quartet, which is The Sum of All Kisses. And this one, like I don't know, I liked it less than A Night Like This. I think I gave this like 3.5 stars. It's not as good as that one, but like, it's not bad. So this one is very, very slow paced, like glacial. Like, I don't think this couple like does it until like 80% of the way through the book. And you're just like, I have waited 80% of this book. Just fuck already. But anyway, this is with Sarah and Hugh. So Hugh was the other guy in that duel with Daniel, and so they have a past, but like he was like not mad at Daniel. It was like Hugh's father is like a real piece of shit, and he was just like, yeah, like he shot me in the leg and then I shot him in the arm, so I think we're even. Like, he was like very practical and kind of sarcastic and moody, and I like him as a character, but as a romantic lead, I'm just kind of like about him. And then Sarah is just like so dramatic. So it's like very like mellow, sarcastic Hugh with just like over the top Sarah. So it's like an odd couple combination, kind of enemies to lovers. This is just full of banter all the time, to maybe the detriment of their relationship, because so much of it is banter that I'm like, okay, but like move forward with your story. Like, you can only have so much banter before it's just boring. But in the end, like, do I like Sarah? Yeah, I kind of like Sarah. I like it. She, you know what? She's very dramatic, but she's also very take charge. And I think Hugh needs that because he's so, like, a stick in the mud all the time. He needs someone to come around and be like, Hugh, get off your sorry ass. And he's like, you know what? I need to get off my sorry ass. So, like, I like them together in the end. Is it my favorite? No, but it was fine. You know what I mean? It's not great and it's not terrible. It's just kind of fine. So 3.5 stars. Next category is fantasy, and I read 3 of those. I read Deal with the Devil by Kit Roca. This was the book of the month for the Blazing Bodice Rippers book club. There is a whole review video on my channel. I'll link that here as well. And it is, it's fine. Again, like, I was having that kind of experience with a lot of books I was reading this month where I'm like, it's fine. This is kind of very much paint by numbers urban fantasy. It's just like, I've seen a lot of other urban fantasies do the same things this book is doing better, and that was the problem mainly. And this whole thing is supposed to be about mercenary librarians, because it says meet the mercenary librarians, and they're not mercenary librarians. Like, when I see this cover and I see mercenary librarians, like, is it just me? Or do you think this is going to be sexy national treasure? Like, they're going to steal the Declaration of Independence and then they're going to do it on it. Like, that's what I wanted out of this, and that's not what I got. Like, I feel like it's very much mismarketed, and also the characters are very milquetoast. Like, there were so many other characters in the book that were infinitely more fascinating than our main couple. So I was like, oh, why don't we talk about them? They're better. So, like, it's fine, I guess. I don't really have much interest in continuing on with the series, but, like, it's fine. 3 stars. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, like, I've seen it done better elsewhere, but maybe if you haven't read a lot of urban fantasy, this would really work for you if you're maybe a newbie. I also read The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller, and hot damn did I really, really enjoy this. Surprise of all surprises, like, I wasn't, like, into this book, and then, like, finally I took my friend Maddie's advice. That's Maddie, Princess of Paperback. She told me to read this, and finally did, and I'm, like, so happy I did it. I was weird about Trisha Levenseller. She wrote, like, Daughter of the Pirate King, which was awful. It's really bad. I'm sorry. There you go. It is. It's terrible. And so it was like, another book by this author. And then I was like, okay, no, this author's better than that book that happened. But this is like, oh my word, it's so good. And here's the thing. All of the main characters in this book are awful people. Like, they're terrible human beings who need professional help. But, like, are they infinitely fascinating to read about? Yes, they are. We're following Alessandra. She is just a black widow. Not literally a spider, but she's just, like, devious and ruthless. And she's this young woman, and she's like, okay, I got a plan in life. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go to the castle. I'm gonna meet the Shadow King. I'm gonna seduce the Shadow King. Marry the Shadow King. Kill him. Be queen. Like, she's a girl with a mission. The king is also just as ruthless and unscrupulous and just devious as Alessandra is. So finally she's like, oh, like, I'm meeting a person who's my equal. Like, I'm way into this. And then their relationship goes from there. But it's kind of like an interesting concept, because basically we're reading, like, a fantasy story from the perspective of, like, the evil king and queen, you know? And, like, we're supposed to root for them, but I'm like, but they're awful people. So many times we've read this same exact story, but from the perspective of, like, the guy leading the rebellion against this evil king and queen. But now we're just reading about the evil king and queen, like, doing evil shit, and I'm like, you know what? I'm here for it. Here's, like, the thing I think that perfectly sums up their relationship to each other. The book starts off, this is not a spoiler, literally the first line of the book tells you that Alessandra killed her first boyfriend because he tried to break up with her. Just killed him and hid the body. Like, she's already starts off a murderer. And then finally the king finds out about it. He's like, oh my gosh, you murdered that guy? Whatever, fuck that guy. Like, that's his whole response to it. He thinks it's really funny. He's like, oh, fuck that guy, I don't care. I would have killed him too. Fuck that guy. Like, that's their relationship. And I'm like, you're kind of perfect for each other. If you really want to read a really cool book just about villains being villains, I recommend. I had a lot of fun with this, surprisingly. Last up, I read The House of Always by Jen Lyons. This is the next book in the Chorus of Dragons series, book 4. There's only one more book of this series, and I am obsessed with this series. However, book 4 is probably the least successful of all the books, considering coming off of book 3, The Memory of Souls, which is, like, bug nuts insane. Like, the end of that book is just, what the fuck just happened? Like, it's just bonkers. And then you go into this one and you're like, oh my gosh, you could have just named the book, hey, The House of Group Therapy. Like, that's what this whole book is. So basically they've rounded up all of our, like, main characters we met over 3 books, and they're all, like, trapped in this tower together. And they keep, like, having their memories stolen and projected to the whole group. It's like a thing. Just go with it, okay? So their memories get pulled and they project it to the whole group. So basically, it's literally group therapy. And it's for reasons because it's like, Kieran and Volkaroth were supposed to have this big confrontation. And mind you, this is book 4 of the series. I know a lot of what I'm saying does not make a lot of sense, but go with me. So Kieran and Volkaroth are having their big confrontation, and that's why all these memories are getting pulled. They're like arguing via memories. Like, oh, people are bad, look at this memory. And he's like, people aren't bad, look at that memory. And they're just fighting with memories. So everyone's just dealing with group therapy because of them. However, one kind of cool part of the book is that we're bringing back characters we really haven't seen since book 1 and book 2. Just came back now, and we're kind of getting their whole backstory. Like, what have they been doing this whole time? So we're getting back to Galen, who is like Kieran's brother, and what he was doing. There's this character Cone. We're getting back to him and what he was doing, because like all of that was a completely different thing, a completely different plot line that we just never followed because they're not part of the main plot line. So, you know, we're kind of filling in some blanks with these other characters who are now part of the plot again. But, yeah, overall, it's not as fun as the others. This one is just, like, group therapy. And even the conceit isn't very well executed. Like, all of the books go back in time all the time. Like, they go like, oh, remember that past thing, and then they go back to the present, and then they tell the part of the past and they go back to the present. Like, that's all of the books. This one is just like, oh, let's just all have group therapy memory sessions, and it's like, Bottom line, this is just not the most successful book of the series. Do I really, really want book 5? Yes, I do, because the end of this book, again, they waited. They made me wait through like 600 pages of this to get to the end, and then they're like, oh yeah, here's this, deal with this, wait for a year, and then deal with this trauma. And I'm like, oh my word, what has happened? Oh my gosh, like, it's just another bombshell at the end. Here you go, wait a year. Like, how very dare you? I don't know, I give it like a low 4, you know what I mean? Like, it's fine, it's good, obviously, but it's like, it's not as good as the others. Alright, so that completes June. I read some really cool stuff in the second half, some things that surprised me, some things that are maybe less than I expected them to be, but you know, that's just kind of life at this point. Let me know in the comments down below, what's something you read lately that surprised you, either for better or for worse. And also, have you read Emma? Do you want to come to the premiere on the 17th? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye!